Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back. Today we're going to have just kind of a quick discussion video where we talk about changes in the meta since the last time I've done sort of a meta analysis video, including the results from the very first VGC 2023 regional in San Diego. So first up, as always, we need to keep in mind that the results from the regionals are always going to be a little bit different than usage stats for, let's say, the ladder on Peakalytics, because in a best of 3 format, especially an open team sheet, different strategies and Pokemon are going to perform better or worse than those same strategies on the ladder. So on Pokemon Showdown, where there are no open team sheets and it's a best of 1 format, surprise strategies and gimmicks can perform a lot better than they could in an open team sheet best of 3 format, where you don't really get the element of surprise and strategies like that can be more easily dealt with. So right here, if you go to Victory Road's website, you can see the teams used in the top cut, which is the top 32 players in the entire regional. So you can see all of the teams, all of the Pokemon that have been used. So we're going to talk just a little bit about the most used Pokemon in the top cut. So these were the most successful Pokemon in a tournament best of 3 format. Now, interestingly enough, the winners team includes some more popular Pokemon for the top cut overall, but it also includes some less popular Pokemon for the tournament as a whole. So obviously, Goldengo was the #1 winner of San Diego. It was on almost 60% of teams. Compare that to about 37% on the ladder. Goldengo, it seems, is very good if you can support it, especially in a best of 3 format, because it's a little bit harder to shut it down consistently. Meowscarada is on this winning team as well, although Meowscarada in the tournament and on ladder had similar usage rates, about 40%. So Meowscarada could perform well in either environment. So rounding another Pokemon that saw sort of a surprising amount of usage in the tournament compared to on the ladder was Water Tauros. Water Tauros showed up on 10 of the top 32 teams in the tournament, which is like 31% usage rate compared to only 6% on the ladder. Granted, I expect Water Tauros usage to increase significantly after this tournament on the ladder because people have really seen how good it is. So if we look at the rest of the team, Scarlet and Mimikyu both had the same usage rate. They showed up on 6 of the top 32 teams, which is about 18% usage rate, and Garganacl only showed up on 3 of the top 32 teams, so that's a less than 10% usage rate. So sort of a mixture of incredibly common Pokemon and a little bit less common Pokemon here ended up winning the day. Garganacl is a little bit of, I think, an underrated pick. It only had less than a 10% usage rate here in the top cut, but on ladder it has only a 6% usage rate, and it's actually quite a good support Pokemon. It's bulky. Salt Cure is a very good way to deal with very bulky and hard to remove Pokemon like, let's say, Annihilate or Dondozo. And Wide Guard can really help to protect your team against opposing Pokemon like Goldengo, who have some really devastating spread moves. Interestingly enough, everybody was talking about it in the lead up to this tournament, but Dondozo did not end up winning. It did come in second, but out of the top 5 finishers, there were only 2 Dondozos. So while it is a very good strat, it's by no means an overpowered one or one that I expect to just sort of dominate regionals moving forward. It's maybe difficult to deal with if you don't have specific counterplay, but if you do have counterplay to it on your team, it's usually fairly easy to take care of. Some other Pokemon that are probably going to see a rise in usage based on their performance here. Amoonguss was in 43% of the top cut as opposed to only 22% of usage on ladder. Amoonguss is always a good Pokemon to really help you set the pace of a game. I mean, 100% accurate sleep is never something to scoff at. Spore, as always, will be a menace. Interestingly, Rain was much more popular at the tournament here than it is on ladder. Pelipper only has about a 7% usage rate as the only, automatic Rain setter with the ability Drizzle. But in the tournament, 21% of top cut teams contained a Pelipper. And you can see there's 2 Pelippers, 2 Rain teams here in the top 5. One using Palafin and one using Dreadnought, interestingly, which we know gets Swift Swim. So that's something to maybe watch out for as we move into Series 2. I think Rain will become significantly less good because there will be a lot more Sun teams running around here with the return of the Paradox Pokemon. On top of that, we'll have a lot more electric terrain in some form or fashion, probably because of the future Paradox Pokemon, and electric Pokemon really are not good for rain teams. And other than Palmot, there were no electric Pokemon present here in the top cut. So right now, rain teams are good because electric Pokemon and grass type Pokemon are not so good, other than Meowscarada. And I think in the future, as we add more and more Pokemon to the format, rain teams might lower in usage. Another interesting note as well is that Murkrow, only 2 Murkrow showed up in the top cut here. There was not a lot of Prankster Tailwind usage, and they didn't end up super high. I mean, 19 and 20 is nothing to scoff at, but they're not like winning teams that were using Murkrow here. So Prankster Tailwind is maybe not so much of an advantage as you might think, because Murkrow really doesn't do a lot after that once it's left on the field. So switching Murkrow out for something like Talonflame, which with its Gale Wings ability does have priority Tailwind usage, might be a little bit better than using Murkrow, because as you can see, these Talonflame teams performed much better than those 2 Murkrow teams we saw. So moving forward, unfortunately, we only have 1 more regional in this Series 1 format, and the ladder for this format ends at the end of the month. There's only, at the time of this recording, 20 days left in the format. So I think a lot of people in the VGC community are going to be looking forward to February when Series 2 starts. We'll have some regionals in the Series 2 format, the first being Orlando, the very first weekend in February. And in Series 2, we'll have all the same Pokemon available to us that we have now, with the addition of the past and future Paradox Pokemon from Area 0. So my predictions for Series 2, I think moving forward as we look at Orlando and Knoxville and beyond, would be obviously Sun teams are going to get a huge boost. I think we can expect to see Torkoal come back. There wasn't a single Torkoal in the top cut here. Sun teams are significantly less good than rain teams right now, but I think with Series 2, Sun teams will get a really big boost, with those past Paradox Pokemon requiring Sun or a booster energy to gain access to their photosynthesis ability. And I think we might also see some electric terrain teams. Of course, the only electric terrain setter that has the electric surge ability is Pincurchin, which is not a particularly good Pokemon. But there are other Pokemon that get the move electric terrain, which sets up that electric terrain, including all of the future Paradox Pokemon themselves. So really, these Pokemon, if they wanted to, could come out and set up their own electric terrain and then gain access to that boost from their Quark Drive ability. Although remember, of course, that all of these Paradox Pokemon can use a booster energy in lieu of the Sun or the electric terrain to gain access to their respective abilities. So in the first few weeks of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, as people were trying to decide what the format would look like, we saw kind of a glimpse of which Paradox Pokemon might be good in the future. Of course, the most popular by far was Fluttermane. Fluttermane has fantastic stats, a great typing, and it did very well in that short span of time. I think Fluttermane may do well again, but I think the meta has developed a lot in the meantime, and Fluttermane has some serious disadvantages that it would need to fight against in order to be as good in Series 2 as it was in the sort of Series 0 that we were playing for a few weeks. The most notable being it's weak to Steel, so it's going to struggle against Goldengo. It's also weak to Ghost, so it would struggle against Goldengo without speed control. It's weak to Dark, so it would struggle against Meowscarada, King Gambit. It's weak to Ghost, so it would struggle against Annihilate. I think there's sort of a lot of Pokemon in the meta right now that it would struggle against, so I think it might be much harder for Fluttermane to get sort of a toehold in the meta, as it were, this time around. So if we look at all the Paradox Pokemon, the ones that at a glance, with no real team building behind me, the ones that I think could potentially perform the best, I think we'll need to watch out for Ground Tusk. I mean, those stats are nothing to sneeze at. If you can get the speed control to make up for that poor speed, it'll be a fantastic Pokemon, I think. Also, that ground typing is incredibly good against not only Pokemon like Goldengo, but also all the Terra Steels and Terra Fire Pokemon that are running around to resist Fairy type attacks. As I said before, Fluttermane will be quite something that we need to watch out for. I mean, a base 135 speed stat is just a little bit insane. And then as far as the future Pokemon go, I really think we're going to need to watch out for Iron Bundle as the fastest Paradox Pokemon. It could really outspeed everything and then just spam Icy Wind. And I think something like Iron Hands could be something that we'd struggle with too. It's incredibly physically bulky, and its high HP attack is really going to make up for this low special defense stat in a lot of ways. Its speed control is really poor, but you could get around that with either hard or soft Trick Room. I don't think Tailwind would be enough with the incredible speed stats you're looking at with the Paradox Pokemon, but I think Iron Hands could do very well on a Trick Room team. Also keep in mind that its stab electric attacks are going to be powered up by the electric terrain, which gives it the Quirk Drive boost. So that was just basically just a brain dump of what I've been thinking over the course of the past week or so as the Series 1 and Series 2 metas have continued developing. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you disagree with anything I've said? Do you have any other thoughts about either the Series 1 or the Series 2 metas that you want to talk about? We can have discussions down in the comments as always. And don't forget, if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see y'all later. Bye!